In order to try to cut down on some of the confusion, this is a video where I've released some of the footage, but I decided to do a video for people who, I don't know, you're stuck in an airport, you're lonely, you're sick, you're injured, you're stuck somewhere and you want to watch a long video that might have some heater content in it, but there's just a lot of me rambling on and a bunch of nonsense. So if you want to see the actual informative, arguably informative video, go check this one out. But yeah, if you're, like I say, lonely, bored, stuck in an airport, detained at customs, whatever the case, feel free to watch this one. I've got to let the cat in. Oh, hey Florence. Hi, come here. Come on. Come on. There you go. See, that's what kind of video this is gonna be. Ordinarily, that would be edited out of the video, but in this video, that sort of thing gets left in. Hey, Florence. So yeah, there's a bunch of extra footage in this one. Some of it not at all heater related. There's snowblower stuff, a story about my truck overheating on the side of the road, just a bunch of nonsense. So again, if you want to see the informative video, this isn't the one. I guess this gives me an opportunity to make a very important correction. In the video where I showed how to hook up the thermostat, I said that DIY Jim didn't show how to wire it. He just showed that he had a thermostat hooked up. I don't know how I missed it. I was probably editing video at the time and kind of clicking back and forth between his video and what I was doing. Anyway, I deeply apologize for that. He actually shows, if I would have watched his video, I wouldn't have made the error and got the wiring wrong the first time, because he actually shows an image of the way he hooked up the wiring, and he does point out a little bit later in the video that it is the yellow wire. So my bad, I was completely wrong there, and I feel bad about it, but not much I can do now. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Lowered Expectations. Thanks for lowering your expectations and hanging out with me here. I do appreciate it. In today's video, if everything goes well, I am going to be installing, firing up for the first time, and testing the brand new HLN True 8 kilowatt heater. I say True 8 kilowatt heater because most brands that call their heaters 8 kilowatts are actually somewhere between 3 and 5 kilowatts. If you want more proof of that or evidence of that, go check out this video or this video. And if you aren't aware of what the HLN heater is, then feel free to go check out these videos. I did both an unboxing and a teardown of the heater, and it is different from anything you've ever seen. So, I have wanted to test this for quite some time now. I've had the heater, I did the unboxing, and I did the teardown video. Unfortunately, it has been quite warm. It's actually quite warm today. As you can see behind me, the sun is shining. It's actually quite nice. In the next week, it's supposed to drop down quite cold to about minus 15 degrees Celsius. I would prefer for it to actually be colder for this test, but it looks like we might not get that super cold Canadian weather for the rest of the year, so I've got to get this done while we have some cold weather. The reason why I need it to be cold for a few consecutive days is because of the way I actually want to test this heater. First of all, I just want to test it, see what it sounds like, see what it operates like, see if the thermostat actually thermostats, and all that fun stuff. But the next reason is I want to actually compare it to two 5 kilowatt Viver diesel heaters. Those of you who follow my channel will probably know I have two 5 kilowatt diesel heaters from Viver installed in my bus, and I love them. They're awesome. They're $130 each, and yeah, I don't have any issues with them, but I want to compare them back to back with the HLN heater and see how quickly each of them heat the bus up. Now, the reason why I need it to be cold for a few days in a row is I want to let the bus sit overnight. So not only the air temperature lowers in the bus, but the temperature of everything in the bus actually lowers as well. The reason why that's important is because if I do a test with, say, my Viver heaters, and they heat the room temperature up to room temperature, and then I just let the air temperature cool off to whatever, ambient temperature, and then I use the HLN to heat it up afterwards, because the stuff in the room is already warmed up, that would give me false results. A bunch of people have asked me to do this sort of testing in the past. They've asked me, why I don't tell room temperature, why I don't, check the outlet temperature and all that. And the reason why I don't is because with that sort of thing, you can't look at one piece of data and say, aha, this heater was different from this heater. You need a whole spreadsheet of data. You need to know a whole lot of things to actually know if you're making more or less heat energy. So one heater could look way better than the other when it's actually worse if you mess up your tests. So, long-winded way to say, I plan on testing this heater. Hopefully the weather works out for us. If you haven't already noticed, there is a bracket here. Well, what is starting to be a bracket. I'm going to mount the heater here, and I'm going to aim the exhaust and inlet just out this window. For now, at least, this heater is not going to be permanently installed in my bus, and I'm not sure what other tests I will do with this. It might get installed in my house in the future. So right now, I'm going to mount it temporarily here with the exhaust and outlet going out the window. So I'm going to whip up a bracket, and hopefully the next thing you guys see is this is what I've got so far. I was going to weld something up, but it made it easier to put up if I just bolted things together. So I've bolted this piece of angle iron to the wall. There was some sort of wheelchair seat belts attachment thing that was screwed to the wall before. So these holes were already there. So I put on this piece of angle iron, and then I bolted on these other pieces of angle iron. You can see it goes in between the exhaust. This is where the mounting holes for the heater are. And so the exhaust will be able to come down here, the inlet will come down here and go right out the window. It looks like I actually got that lined up. Surprise, surprise. I do still need to drill out the holes, mounting holes. I might just do 2 of them. This isn't going to be driving around on there, so I can always add more holes after. But I suppose while I have the tools out, it would make sense to just drill 4 now. These are M8 metric threaded holes in the case. So if anybody's wondering about that, that's what they are. I don't know when you guys are seeing this, but I am currently recording on Saturday, February 14th, otherwise known as Valentine's Day, so I hope you all are feeling loved. I've got the heater mounted up on the wall, and I've got the exhaust on. I've got an exhaust heat shield thing so I don't burn my window seal thing here. And I've also got the inlet on. I'm going to do something very uncharacteristic now. I'm going to show a little bit of love for myself and actually stop filming, go have something to eat, and then go for a bike ride. And it is only about 3:30 in the afternoon, something like that. So it's not cold enough to test this anyway, so this can definitely wait. I am planning some other videos. I'm going to try to switch. Oh, one thing I just found out, I don't know when you guys are seeing this, so you might already know, but I just found out that the HTB1 heater from Sunster that had all the weird quirks has an engineering menu that actually allows you to set maximum fan speed, minimum fan speed, maximum pump speed, minimum pump speed. So you can actually control the map on it, the fuel map, so you can make it run more rich or more lean. So I'm going to be doing some testing on that, both seeing if I can just take it from where it was burning way too much fuel and making a lot of carbon monoxide and lowering it down, and also just seeing how much heat I can get out of it. I don't know how fast it will let me run the fan, but so there's two things. It's how practical it is to run the fan, because the faster you run it, the sooner the motor's going to wear out, and that gets expensive and a nuisance. So how practical it is, and then how much we can just force out of it while still running a reasonable amount of CO2, carbon monoxide. So what I'm probably going to do is see how high I can crank the fan up and then feed fuel to it, and see basically how many kilowatts we can push out of this heater before it starts to have issues, and then actually do some porting. If you guys look back through my videos, why am I talking about this in this video? Because I'm me. If you look back through my catalog of videos or archive of videos, you will see that I did a porting test on a heater, and I forget what I increased flow by something like 30%, and I actually tested it with a one of those aerometers thing that checks wind velocity, air velocity. Anyway, so yeah, it would be interesting to see if I port it, how much more fuel I can deliver. If I can add 30% more fuel, that would be pretty crazy. I kind of don't think that's the case. Anyway, that's not even important to these people, Joel. They don't care. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, fellas. Drop my bike, it's too slippy. 1, 2, 3. Oh, they're fighting. Don't be fighting. Come on now. Who started that? Did you start that? What was that all about? Can't we all just get along? Are you sneaking up on me? I'm about to fire up the HLN heater for the very first time, and it is going to take quite a while to actually pull fuel through, because this fuel line is at least 15 feet long, if not 20 feet. I have a fuel tank just off camera, just down here outside, so that I don't get a bunch of diesel fuel smell in the bus. And I've also got the wire for the fuel pump going out. I still need to tidy some stuff up, but it's actually going quite well. So I've decided I'm going to actually leave the fuel line off and turn the heater on and allow it to pump, and basically see. I really wish there was a way that I could prime the fuel through without using the pump. I mean, I could disconnect from the pump and suck fuel through, but I wish there was an easy way to do it, but there's not. Anyway, it's going to take quite some time, so I'm not going to film all of it, but I'm going to allow the pump to run until I get fuel coming out this line. I've got a container here so that I don't make a big mess. Once it's coming out of this line, I will power the heater off, and then I will hook this up to the heater here, and then try to fire the heater up for real. I haven't looked on the website recently, but I haven't been able to find an owner's manual for this, so I don't know. I kind of doubt it, because there's only one knob and a thermostat. You might be able to use a jumper wire or something to make the pump go, but as far as I know, there's just this one switch, you turn it on and it does its thing. Is everything... Oh. Before I tried to fire the HLN heater up, I was thinking to myself, oh, that power supply that I'm using is a little bit on the noisy side. Not so worried about the noise of the power supply anymore. I've got to say right now, while this thing's getting ready to start back up, it makes some really seems to struggle to start the fan. The way I have the heaters installed on my bus, for those of you who don't know, I actually have the heaters installed inside of this enclosure, and I have the vents running out. So I've got inlet vents here, I've got outlet vents here, and I've actually got the whole enclosure insulated, and it makes a big difference in sound level. I kind of feel like I would want this thing mounted in the same way or underneath the bus with vents running into the bus, because it's definitely not quiet. I will get my sound level meter and check it, and I do have some footage from when I installed my 5 kilowatt heaters, so anyway, we'll compare it to those. We're finally pumping diesel. Okay. Okay, we've got diesel coming out here. I just pulled the fuse to stop it from pumping and to just shut it down altogether. I know a lot of people are probably going to be mad at me for that. And that's fine. You're allowed to be mad. Okay, this time we're actually firing it up. I am going to go... I've got the fuel line hooked up and crimped on. Hopefully it doesn't leak, because if it does leak, it's leaking inside my bus, which isn't ideal. I'm going to go grab some small zip ties, if I can find some, and zip tie the controller in place. Also going to get this fuel line sorted out now that I've got the length sorted out. I put this on here prematurely. I've only had this running for a few minutes now, and before this I had my Beaver 5 kilowatt heater running. I actually have 2 of them installed, but I was running one of them because it's not terribly cold outside. I guess I can remove these now. And after running this on the lowest setting for just a couple of minutes, I've just had to open my door because it is actually too warm back there. The vent on the heater, the outlet vent is pointing back, and the back of the bus is just too hot. So what I think I'm going to do is actually put the vent on and point it kind of towards the camera, and that way the air will kind of go out this way and hopefully diffuse a little bit. But yeah, this thing is going to have absolutely no trouble heating this bus. I just shut the heater down to install another piece of insulation around the window because I really don't want to wreck my window. And yeah, I'm actually going to go and check the outdoor temperature to see what it is. Grab these clamps. I've got the camera kind of parked in an odd place because where you were before, you were kind of too close to the heater. I like to check them at about 5 feet, and the camera was at 5 feet. So right now, right here is 5 feet. I can tell you already, it's not quiet. Basically 70 decibels at its lowest setting. So now I'm going to put the pipes on, put the hoses on, vents, and recheck it and see if anything's changed. It's crazy hot. It's so crazy how hot it is. As you guys can see, just adding the hoses made a pretty considerable difference in the sound level. Even though it doesn't seem like much on the meter, it is pretty considerable. I'm sure you can hear the heater running in the background. I'm pretty sure it's on its lowest setting. It is 5 degrees Celsius outside and I am absolutely cooking. It is 27 degrees Celsius in my bus. That is according to the 2 diesel heater temperature sensors. I'm fairly certain as of now that this thermostat does not shut down the heater. I think I'm going to shut it down, relocate the thermostat back here somewhere, and then perhaps try to install a household thermostat. I just had a massive brain fart. I just realized that I had turned this thermostat up all the way to 30 and placed it outside because I was trying to get the heater to ramp up. And when I took it back inside, I forgot to turn it down. So I just turned it down off camera. I don't think the heater is going to turn off. I think this thermostat just slows the heater down. So yeah, I'm going to leave it. I did see on DIY Jim's video, he hooked up a household thermostat. It looks like he used this yellow wire. So I think I might do that same thing because this heater is bloody insane. It is ridiculous. Probably don't want to go out there. Yeah. Okay, folks. Oh boy. Oh boy. That sucked. I gotta get through that. Okay. I know what to do. I gotta put my computer down. They were calling for snow yesterday, and when I went to bed last night, there was just a tiny little bit of little dusting. Now, as you can see, whew. Okay, open up. What? Oh, there's snow coming in the window. Dang it. Well, it's cold enough in here that the snow isn't melting and sticking to anything, so that's good. My plan was to turn on the Viver heaters and let them run. I'm going to check the temperature so you guys can see how cold it really is in here. So just above freezing, 2.2 degrees. Check a couple of different places. Okay, it's about freezing temperature. Yeah, thermostat back here is saying 1 degree Celsius. So we'll go off that, but also, let's say these thermostats, check the temperature of the bench. That's also 1 degree. Temperature of the bench. So it's pretty close to 1 degree Celsius in here. I have one Viver heater set to level 7, and it is maintaining 1 degree Celsius in here. It's minus 16. Oh, it just dropped to 0 or 0.5. So it's quite windy and blustery outside. I am going to turn on the big beast here because, well, it's minus 16. I'm gonna go do some shoveling. I'm gonna turn this up to 25 degrees Celsius and see how long it takes to get to 25. I don't think it's gonna be very long. To be fair to the heater, I am gonna crank this thermostat all the way up. If you've seen my previous video, if I just turn this to the on position, 10 degrees Celsius, it'll turn on, but it won't have as much oomph once it starts to warm up in here, basically. And if I turn it all the way to max, then it will output more heat for longer. I am going to turn this on, crank it all the way up, set the thermostat to 25 degrees. There we go, 25. I'm not gonna wait around for this to turn on because I am freezing and I just wanna get outside and do some shoveling so that I can warm up a bit. Not that I'm gonna warm up much because it's so windy. I guess I should probably go in the house and put on a jacket. You can hear the heater starting to slow down already. Turns out there's a lot of snow out along the front of my house, so I've got to fix my snowblower. For some reason this shredded a belt. I'm hoping it was just a bad quality belt. But yeah, the belt on this got wrecked, so I got to replace one. I ended up ordering 2. I've currently got a diesel heater heating my garage. I figured out how to enter the engineering menu. I shouldn't say I figured out. A commenter told me how to get into the engineering menu on this. And I've turned the pump hertz down to a maximum of 4.8 hertz, which is 3.8 kilowatts. And it's happy running here. It runs at about 240 Celsius. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The heater's still running on the bus outside. Oh, you got caught on the doorknob. Heater's still going. I'm gonna see how long. This shouldn't take me too long. I gotta put some air in the tire and yeah, pop this apart and throw a belt on. Here's the old belt. Don't know if you can see, but there's a bit of a chunk missing out of it there. Snowblower's all back together. I just need to put one screw in this plastic cover and then go check on the heater. Half an hour has passed. I've come in to check on the heater and it has slowed down a little bit. I think I could get it to do better if I redirected these hoses some. I'll talk a little bit more about that once it shuts down and I don't have to yell. But basically, there's an inlet temperature sensor, and depending on where this hot air blows and where that cold air vent picks up from, determines how quickly the heater will lower its level, based also on the thermostat position. So we are at 12 degrees Celsius, so basically up 12 degrees in half an hour. Because of what I'm wearing, it's already uncomfortably warm. Even though that says 12 degrees Celsius, I'm sure it's actually warmer than that as the air temperature. But that's just, the wall has to warm up as well anyway. Oh boy. 15 degrees Celsius, 15.5. Decided to turn the thermostat down to 20 degrees Celsius. It has now been this much time since I started the test, and it is up to 15.5. on the thermostat, but I'll show you guys the problem with this, and that is that the air temperature and everything else in here is actually above 15.5. It's basically, that wall is going to take a long time to warm up. So hopefully you can see that 15.5. But if I check the temperature of the bench over here, it is actually 19 degrees Celsius, and just to show that it's not because it's by the heater, over here we got basically 17.7 Celsius, and that's by the inlet. This is what it looks like outside. I've still got the snowblower sitting out there because, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back out and do some more snow clearing. I did a bunch already, but it's gonna drift back over, and it looks like the snow is still coming down pretty hard. I'm realizing that I kind of screwed up this test. I shouldn't have had the thermostat mounted on that wall, and I probably should have chosen different temperatures to go to and from. But I came up with an interesting idea. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it has actually slowed down considerably. It might be speeding up again. But anyway, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn the HLN off. So it has been running, and the air temperature in here is quite warm. It is, if I point it at that bin over there, basically 23 degrees Celsius. But the thermostat on the wall just went to 16. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn the HLN heater off. I'm gonna turn the two Viver heaters that I have on and turn them all the way up to level 10. So two 5 kilowatt heaters at full power, and we'll see if the temperature goes up or if it goes down. Part of the problem today is that it is very windy and blustery. And another way that I screwed up, I just realized, I've been going in and out of the bus because I've been having to clear snow. And when I came in last time, I opened the door with the electric open, but then there's a little lever that, anyway, I basically walked in and then I didn't close the door properly behind me, so there was a huge gap and air was just blowing in. Because the HLN is so powerful, it's able to keep up, and it was actually keeping the bus warm where I was sitting, but cold air was just streaming in like crazy at the other end of the bus, and I didn't notice. So what I'm gonna do, the door is closed now. The HLN has been able to maintain 16 degrees Celsius with the door open. So I've closed the door, switching over to the Viver heaters. We'll see what happens. It is 1:36 p.m. and I've just turned on the Viver heaters. I'm turning off the HLN, and we will come back in half an hour and we will see if the temperature has gone up or down or stayed the same. We are 4 minutes in. The Viver heaters are running at setting 10. As you can hear, they are much quieter. And well, I gotta tell you, I am already developing a chill. I think I mentioned it earlier, but it is quite a blustery, windy day. You'll probably see stuff blowing around behind me through the window here. But the biggest thing is that the HLN heater circulates so much air, it is ridiculous. So it moves so much air that it has hot air through the whole bus. And I've got 2 Viver heaters going now, both of them with the vents pointed back this way. The HLN is set up so that the vent is pointing kind of down and across. So let's have a look at that. Okay, I think we have one heater having trouble starting. That's what's going on. We'll get to that in a second. The vent for the HLN heater is pointing down and across here. So it's literally just blowing air down in this area. I'm way back there, it's warm back there, and it's also warm up here. The Viver heater vents are here, just off camera, you might be able to see them. And they're both pointed back in this direction, and still I'm chilly back here. Now, to be fair to the Viver heaters, apparently one of them failed to start the first time. This is not the fault of the heaters, this is the fault of me, kind of, I guess. A few viewers suggested that I use check valves at the pumps to stop the fuel from being pulled from one to the other. And I figured that the pumps themselves would act as check valves. They actually have check valves in them. And it sort of works, but it sort of doesn't. So basically, if I run one heater, which I often do on warm days, I'll run one heater instead of 2 of them. What ends up happening is if I run one heater for a long time, it pulls fuel from the other pump. And then when that heater goes to start, it starves for fuel, and so it doesn't start up the first time. So it will start, but it's going to take a while before it actually throws out any heat. So I'll come back in a little while. Half an hour has now passed, and as you guys can probably see behind me here, it is quite blustery. The bus is shaking around in the wind, and it's just quite nasty. You can see my neighbor's garage trim here has actually torn off in the wind, and there's actually a piece on the other side that's torn off as well. Anyway, the temperature, what's going on out there? The temperature has dropped 1 degree Celsius on the thermostat, but the air temperature, it just feels much more chilly all around. My feet are cold and I just have a bit of a chill. Anyway, we are gonna take the thermostat gun, the infrared gun, and check the temperatures of a few things because we had checked the temperatures while the HLN was on. Keep in mind, only half an hour has passed. I did this about 15 minutes ago and the temperatures had already dropped considerably, so let's do it again on camera. I had checked the temperature of this bin before. Oh yeah, that was 23 degrees Celsius and now it's down to 14. So the HLN was making a huge difference. Let's check a few things and not just assume. Over here, we checked yeah, it's way down. I forget what it was, but it's way down over here as well. And we checked in this corner, and yeah, you can see it is down a lot. So I'm going to continue this test for a little longer. I'll leave the Viver heaters running for another half an hour, but it is pretty obvious. It's not even that cold out. It's just that it's so windy. I do have the windows open to get wiring out and the exhaust out on the HLN heaters, so that's making it more poorly insulated than it would normally be. There is a draft coming in, and also normally at this temperature I would use a piece of foam insulation at the entryway. So I'm probably going to continue on with this test tomorrow. It would be nice to do a test a couple of days in a row where there wasn't a whole lot of wind, so we were just checking temperature to temperature. But I don't know, it might be blustery for the next 3 days or something. Anyway, I've got to get back to blowing snow. What's going on out here in the alleyway? I'll come back when there's something to come back and talk. I just helped a neighbor get unstuck. Somebody got stuck in the alleyway here, and me and one of my other neighbors ended up getting them out. Another half hour has passed, and the temperature has dropped another 1 degree Celsius. Florence wants to look out the window, so I'm going to open it up for her. She's going to be very upset if I don't. So I'm going to do that, but I don't imagine she'll want to look out very long because it's not very nice. Hey, you don't want to stick your head out there very long, hey? It's not very nice, is it? It's so nasty. Oh, what's that? Is that Purelator backing up? What's going on out there, buddy? Hey, what's going on out there? It's not very nice, hey? You wanna look out? You go, look out. What's out there? Who's out there? Who's out there? Who's out there? Look. It's not nice enough to stick your head out, eh? Yeah, it is not very nice out. It is very blustery and there's snow blowing everywhere. It's still snowing. Temperature has dropped in here, like I said, another degree Celsius. And the Viver heaters are cranked all the way up to 10, both of them. So that's pretty clear that the HLN makes way, way, way more heat output because the temperature was still going up on the HLN and it had slowed down. So it wasn't running at its peak. Because the air temperature was warm in here, it had slowed down, it was burning a little less fuel. I have come up with what I think is an interesting test, and although it's not related to the HLN heater or the Viver heaters, it will be an interesting experiment. The outside temperature is minus 17 degrees Celsius, and it has been most of the day. And the current temperature in the bus has stabilized around 14.5 degrees Celsius. It went all the way down to 14 and then came up to 14.5. So basically it has stabilized. Those of you who have watched my previous videos will know that I lose a lot of heat around the entryway of this bus. And so what I'm going to do, I've got a big chunk of styrofoam insulation. It is an inch thick. And what I do when it gets quite cold, which it is now, I put that on top of the entryway mat. And it seems to make a big difference, but I've never actually recorded the difference. So it is currently 3:21 p.m. And I think what I'm going to do is wait until 3:30, then I'll put down the insulation, and then we will basically monitor the temperature and see what it has done over the next half hour. It is 3:30 p.m. The temperature is 14.5, so it hasn't changed at all. And I'm going to put this big piece of insulation across the doorway, and we will see what difference that makes. Okay, there we have it. I will come back in half an hour and we'll see if anything has changed. I will have to monitor the outside temperature as well and see if that changes anything. I don't know if this is terribly conclusive, but it looks like we went up about 0.5 degrees Celsius. So it is warming up in here a little bit. And a half hour has passed. The guy who I helped get unstuck from the alleyway brought me some meat, and I was just about to go have some supper, so that's a good thing. I was gonna thaw out some chicken. You can see 13.6 over here, 12.2 there, and 14.4 there. So I'm gonna go make myself some supper, and I'm going to leave that in place, but I'm gonna turn the HLN on while I'm gone. And maybe I should turn all the heaters on. Actually, what I'll do, I'll switch these over to auto and crank them up to 36. There we go. We got cranked up to 36. As the HLN heats the bus up, the Viver heaters will turn themselves down basically to nothing. I'm curious to see exactly how long it takes this heater to fire up compared to my standard diesel heaters. So I'm going to flip the switch on here, and then I am going to check to see when exactly this thing fires up. I'm going to determine that by holding my hand on the exhaust and feeling for it to get warm. The standard diesel heaters make a very distinct sound when they're firing up, and so I can usually tell by that. So we'll try to time them and see how long it takes a standard heater to start versus how long it takes one of these heaters to start. Turn the switch on. Static shock. Oh, stopwatch. Gotta do the stopwatch. Okay, I got the stopwatch. First thing this heater does is run the glow plug. It doesn't turn any fan on. What your diesel heater will do, your standard diesel heater, starts the fan while it's turning on a glow plug. And that's not ideal because you're actually passing air over the glow plug. So what this does, it turns on the glow plug first, heats it up, and then starts the fan and instantly starts injecting fuel. So we'll see. Static everywhere. See how long it takes? It's 40 seconds from the time I click the switch. So it runs the glow plug for 45 seconds. Tried to start the fan, but it wouldn't. Had a hard time to start. This is abnormal. Okay. We are a minute in. All right, 1 minute and 30 seconds and we have combustion. looks like a whole bunch of ribs. This sweet rice cake. No idea what that is. What do you think? Right? Want some ribs? It is exactly half an hour later, and I arrived into the bus just as the HLN heater was shutting down. The temperature in here is 20.5 degrees Celsius. As you can hear, the Viver heaters still are running. That HLN heater is a monster. I have to finish eating so then I can go outside and clear some snow. As you guys can probably see, the light is fading pretty quickly, so I don't want to be doing that in complete darkness. I just spent an hour and a half clearing snow. That's with a snowblower, so I'm glad I had it. Glad I took the time to repair it. Not sure if I'll include a clip, but I had to replace a belt on it before I could get going today. And it wasn't working perfect, but I tell you, it was a whole lot better than struggling with a shovel. I did a couple of neighbors on one side of me and a couple of neighbors on the other side as well. I did both neighbors in front of their garages and in front of my garage, and so lots of snow cleared. Anyway, it has dropped to minus 19 Celsius, 2 degrees lower than it was when I started, and it is supposed to drop to minus 26 overnight. So that'll be a real good test of the heaters. I kind of almost wish I didn't use the HLN because it spoils you really quickly. It just moves so much air around. It might be nice if I had a ceiling fan or something for the Viver heaters, but I think it's partly how much air it moves and partly just how much heat output it has. I am gonna have to go check my fuel level for that heater because I've got a separate tank, a separate jerry can. The heaters that are installed in the bus pull fuel out of the bus fuel tank, and so that makes it quite convenient. I am still filling it with jerry cans because the bus hasn't left my yard since, well, I've bought it. But anyway, I'm just completely rambling now. This footage will never get used. Let's go check some comments. While the HLN heater is turning on here, I gotta tell you guys that I don't remember it being this cold in the bus. I'm literally wearing 2 hoodies and a jacket. And I guess, I don't know what it says on the thermostats for the Viver heaters. Maybe it's because it's windy, but it's not super uncomfortable cold, but my feet are cold. I've been holding them up off the floor, but as soon as I put them anywhere near the floor, it's cold. I can just, maybe it's because it's windy. I can kind of feel breezes everywhere. I have my 2 Viver heaters running at level 10. It is currently minus 21 degrees Celsius outside. I was certain that I had it. The HLN is noisy, but it moves a lot of hot air. I was certain that I had temperatures down to around minus 30-ish, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just getting more sensitive in my old age. I've fired up the HLN. I'm going to run it with the Viver heaters and take the chill off. I tell you what, that HLN is an absolute beast of a heater. The last clip I recorded was 9:25 and it is now 9:31. The temperature is up to 22.5 degrees, just like that. 2 Viver heaters running at full, and they were struggling. What was the temperature when I forget exactly what the temperature was. I think it was 15 degrees Celsius, but it's jumped up that quickly. It instantly feels warm in here. Like, even the air around my feet, like, you can't use one of these. It's thinking about slowing down. You can't use one of these to measure air temperature. You know, you point it at the floor, and the floor here is telling me 15 degrees, which even seems ridiculous, but the Viver heaters can't keep up, and this thing just warms the bus up like it was nothing. Yeah, I am curious to see how much fuel I've burnt through. It's kind of almost making me nervous to go look at it, but yeah, maybe I'll do that tomorrow in the daylight. I am stuck on the side of the road because, well, partially because I'm an idiot. I got up this morning, the battery on my truck was a little bit low. I knew that because I tried to start my diesel heater and I could see the voltage. However, the diesel heater actually started, so I was like, it can't really be that low. I go out to my truck and my battery's dead. I need to get to my therapy session and I don't have much time. My truck is already warm, so I'm like, hey, I'll just ask BJ to use his 4Runner to boost my truck. Then I can drive there. By the time I get there, the battery will be charged up. It usually charges pretty quick, and it wasn't stone dead, it was dead. Anyway, so I get BJ's key, drive around, boost my truck. By this time I'm running late. I'm going to get to my appointment just on time. So I start heading there. I get about 5 minutes from my house, maybe 10 minutes from my house, and I'm driving in the fast lane to try to make up some time. Not in the fast lane, really, in the left lane, to try to make up some time, and I hear a beep, 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 and I think I can't be getting low on fuel. So I look down and there's a message that my truck is overheating. So it's minus 25 degrees Celsius outside, and what must have happened, my cooling system must have frozen. And so because it froze, coolant couldn't circulate. Because coolant couldn't circulate, my engine overheated even though there's ice in my cooling system. So I automatically, instinctively, throw my truck into neutral, shut it off, and start coasting and start looking for a way to get over to the right-hand side because I'm in the leftmost lane. I get over 2 lanes and then somebody is angry at me because they think that I'm trying to like cut in front of them to take the exit. So this guy driving a truck literally blocks me from taking the exit, and I have no way to accelerate, so all I can do is try to stop. So I slow down to match his speed, thinking he will keep going and I'll be able to pull in beside him or behind him. But he basically blocks me the whole way, and so now I'm stuck, yeah, at a very weird, inconvenient spot. And there's BJ. I managed to make it home thanks to BJ. He boosted me. I made it about 2 blocks and my truck started overheating again. But I figured that whatever the blockage was would thaw out and then it would cool down. So I kind of kept going, and I was on a path. I couldn't pull over because there's so much snow I would have gotten stuck. So I was trying to drive slow and not block everybody up. And I ended up on a path. The route that I took, I was unfamiliar with the area, and the route that I took me back onto one of the main roads. I then avoided going on the main highway, but just after going through an intersection, my truck went into limp mode because it was way, way overheating. So I ended up jumping a median and going over onto on the side of an on-ramp. My truck had shut off at this point. Anyway, my truck had shut off at that point, so I coasted over to the side of the road, jammed it into a snowbank. BJ stopped in front of me, we talked about towing my truck. That didn't seem like a great option, so he turned around and boosted me. Again, keep in mind all this time it's minus 25 degrees Celsius outside, and I can't run the heater in my truck because my battery's dead, and my heat on my truck isn't blowing any heat because even though it's overheating, there's actually ice in the cooling system. Which I don't really understand, because I had a small leak earlier this year. I put some water in, but then I replaced it with antifreeze, and I was sure it was going to be okay. Anyway, I couldn't find my tester, so I guess that explains it. No mystery there. Anyway, I ended up nursing it home on the back roads, stopped at a parking lot for a while, and the temperature has now dropped down pretty much to normal. So I think what I'm going to try to do is plug my truck in. It does have a block heater on it, so I'll probably plug it in and put a battery charger on it. What a mess. I guess into the house, warm up my toes, and then reschedule my appointment, and then out to the bus to do some heater testing. As you guys can see from that screenshot, it is minus 23 degrees Celsius. I have been through quite the ordeal this morning. The heaters, I don't know what they say the temperature is in here, but the bench says 4.8 degrees Celsius. Everything in here is very cold. So I'm going to show you guys a screenshot of the temperatures that are recorded on the heater thermostats, and I will also I'm now going to show you guys what temperature. Oh, the sun must be shining on this wall back here, because it says it's 10 degrees Celsius on this. Well, I was going to say it definitely isn't, but let's check the bus controllers and see. I'll put up a screenshot and see what they say. Well, it must be that the sun is shining in here and helping warm things up, because it says 9 degrees on the heater controllers, and it says 10 degrees on the thermostat on that back wall. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to crank these up. What is the time? I will put the time on the screen here, and I am going to crank these up. I'm just setting them over to level, so they're going to go all the way to level 10 as of now. We're going to leave this run until it gets to 20 degrees Celsius in the bus, so warms up 10 degrees. And then I guess we'll let the bus cool off and do the same thing with the HLN. It doesn't seem like much of a challenge for this heater, but I think it's going to take quite a long time for that to actually happen with the Beaver heaters. I do love them, but yeah, they don't have nearly as much oomph. So, funny story. I just added 1.5 gallons of coolant to my truck. So I guess maybe the level sensor stopped working. Maybe it told me and I ignored it for a day, and then it just decided not to warn me again. But that seems like a thing that would happen. But either way, I added 1.5 gallons of coolant, and now it's blowing hot air, and the temperature has returned to normal. I had assumed that the coolant system was frozen and that's why it was blowing cold air, but yeah, if your vehicle's blowing cold air, the first thing you should do is check your what do you call it? Coolant level. The two Beaver heaters have been running on max, so setting 10, 2 heaters running together, and it has warmed up 1 degree Celsius in here, according to the thermostat back there. What I was planning on doing is seeing how long it would take these heaters to heat the bus up to 20 Celsius. but it seems as though it's going to take forever for that to happen, if it will even happen. It's currently 11 degrees Celsius according to that. If it takes more than 4 hours, which it appears that it will, then I'm just turning on the HLN to boost it up. And then tomorrow it's supposed to be cold again, so we will retry this test with the HLN heater. It is very, very clear to me already that the HLN has way more heat output than these heaters. I don't know what footage I've actually used in this video because it turned out to be a little bit messy. I started testing the HLN yesterday when it was minus 16, and now it's minus 23. So it's definitely harder for the Beaver heaters, but yeah, quite clearly the HLN is just in a whole different league. It has now been a little over 2 hours, and the temperature in the bus has gone up to 15 degrees Celsius on here. So let's look at a screenshot and see what the controllers say it is. As you guys can see, the controllers think it is 16 degrees Celsius, so that is good that we're only 1 degree off. It shows that, yeah, we don't have some wild, wacky reading. It has been 2 hours and it's gone up 5 degrees Celsius. Wait, 6. What did we start at? 9? Anyway, it's gone up 5 or 6 degrees Celsius in 2 hours. So I have my Beaver heated hoodie on, which I might do a review on because I've actually had it long enough now that I'm sure that it's good. I bought this hoodie back in October, I believe. As soon as I purchased the hoodie, I also purchased an extra battery. And so I've got 2 of these batteries. On the highest setting, which is red, it lasts for about 4 hours, just under 4 hours. On the medium setting, it lasts for about 6 hours. And on the low setting, it lasts for about 8 hours. So I've got 2 of these battery packs, and I basically, even on the coldest days, when I'm running it full time, I can have one battery on charge and be using the other one. The one thing I was very concerned about was what would happen when I washed it, because I am a dirty fellow, and I actually avoided washing it at first for quite a while. And then after I washed it a couple of times, I was like, okay, it's not going to hurt it. But anyway, it has been hanging in there really tough. The hoodies do seem to fit a little bit small, but I think that's a good thing because they fit under a jacket nice or under another hoodie. As you can see, I'm wearing this hoodie under this hoodie. If you're out on a cold, windy day, the heating doesn't do much at all because it just blows the heat away. So it is ideal to be wearing this underneath something else. So underneath another hoodie. I mean, if you live in a climate where it only gets to around freezing, maybe a few degrees below freezing, then that's probably okay. But currently here today, it is minus 23 degrees Celsius. And so we're talking real cold. I got really spoiled wearing this. I would like get out of bed when it was in the wash and just dread getting out of bed because, yeah, I was so used to being warm and toasty, just having this warm hug of a hoodie on all the time. We are now a little over 3 hours into this test, and although the controllers here say it's 18 degrees, and I'm standing right in front of the heaters, so I'm nice and toasty warm here. This is over where I do my editing, and as you can see, 16 degrees Celsius. It's going up about a degree per hour, but I think it's probably going to slow down. The bigger the temperature differential, the more quickly the heat will escape, and the temperature's probably going to start dropping a little bit. I'm going to wait at least another hour and see what happens, but no promises after that. It might end up being turning on the HLN to actually warm it up in here, get it nice and warm. The heater vents are here, and the bench above it says 14 degrees Celsius. Over here, 12 degrees Celsius. So these heaters are definitely struggling to warm up the bus today. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We are now 4 hours into testing the Viver heaters, and as you guys can see from this screenshot, it appears to be quite warm. It says 19 degrees Celsius. However, that is because most of the heat from the Viver heaters isn't circulating very well, and my feet are quite toasty warm. But as you can see from this shot, at the back of the bus where I actually do my editing, the temperature is 16.5 degrees Celsius. I am sick of being cold, so what I'm going to do is fire up the HLN heater. Then overnight we will let the bus cool off. We will come back tomorrow and then we will fire up the HLN and see how well it does at warming up my bus. We're supposed to have very comparable temperatures tomorrow, so I'll see you then. It is now 11 a.m. the following morning, and as you guys can see from the screenshot, minus 23 degrees Celsius, so exactly the same as what it was yesterday morning. It did warm up to minus 22 yesterday, so let's get this test started before it warms up at all. Also, I wanted to say, take a look at the screenshots of the temperature in the bus, and you can see it's actually a little bit colder than yesterday. Also, you can see my Viver heaters, both of them, are running at, I believe, setting 4. I have them set to, I think, 16 degrees, and it's able to maintain half of that at 8, if I remember correctly. Let's go look at the thermostat on the wall and see what that says. Hopefully you guys can see that. It says 5.5 degrees Celsius. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to turn off the Viver heaters. And see, I'm shutting both of those down. And now I'm going to head over here, turn on the HLN heater, and it is currently 10:59 a.m. So we are literally 15 minutes in, not even half an hour yet, and I've already turned off my heated hoodie and pulled down my hood. The thermostat on the wall over here is reading 11 degrees Celsius already. And yeah, it's basically comfortable in here, although I am wearing 2 hoodies. We'll wait till half an hour, but this thing is already proven to be just in a whole other league. Half an hour exactly has passed. We are going to go take a look at the thermostat, and the results are pretty shocking. This heater is just on a whole completely different level. So let's go take a look. Hopefully you guys can see that it is 11:30, 15 degrees Celsius, 15.5. It just went to 15.5. This is kind of interesting. We are 36 minutes in, 18 degrees Celsius, and the heater has slowed down to its lowest setting. So already it's chilled out. It's like, you know what? It's warm enough in here, we don't need to go nuts. This heater measures the inlet temperature. There's a sensor in here. So it's pulling in the cool return air, and when this air warms up enough, it slows the heater down. So although that is your temperature dial, you can get that as hot or as cold as you want, and it doesn't affect this at all. I thought it was important to mention after that last clip that the heater will likely go up a level again or speed up again. And that's because stuff in the bus will actually absorb heat energy from the air that the heater has heated up, and that will cause the air temperature to drop a little bit going into the inlet of the heater, and so it will react and speed up. But already we're at 18.5 degrees Celsius, 38 minutes in. This thing's just a complete monster. And as you can tell, in this setting, It's not actually that loud. It is minus 22 degrees Celsius outside, which is really cold. And this thing's just idling away. It's like no big deal. It is half an hour later, and quite honestly, I don't know that it even makes sense to keep going at this point. The heater is actually speeding up a bit, which means that exactly what I said would happen happened. So stuff in the bus has absorbed some of the heat, and now the air has cooled down a bit, and so the heater is speeding up. 12:01, 1 hour in, and we are up to 19 degrees Celsius. With the Viver heaters, I was checking in on them every hour, and the temperature would go up about a degree. But quite clearly, in less than half an hour, this heater is going to reach 20 degrees and shut the thermostat off. So I'm going to go outside, do some shoveling because I need to do some shoveling, and I will listen for the heater shutting down and come back when that happens. It has reached 21 degrees Celsius. You can see it is 12:24. So in less than an hour and a half, the HLN heater did what the Viver heater couldn't do at all. My two Viver heaters were not able to heat the bus up to 20, and this heater heats the bus up to 20 and then shuts itself off just too easily. So what I'm gonna try to do is point this heater vent towards the front of the bus, and that will do two things. One, it will take more time to get heat back to the thermostat, and it will also blow more heat. I'll lose more heat energy through the front of the bus because it's not insulated, but also it will pick up some hot air in this vent, and that is what determines the level that the heater runs at. So the heater will run at a lower level because it will be picking up more hot air. Because my bus is so poorly insulated, the heater does turn back on very quickly. But as you guys can clearly see, this heater has absolutely no trouble heating up my bus, while the Viver heaters clearly struggled. I'll tell you what, folks, minus 23 Celsius really puts a different perspective on what cold is. It is now the following day, minus 13 degrees Celsius, and although that is quite chilly, I am out here in a long sleeve t-shirt, and even though I've just got the Viver heaters set on a fairly low setting, it is toasty warm. We are going to get into some pros and cons of this heater. I'm sure I'm going to miss some things. I'm not trying to mislead you guys. I just have a frazzled brain, and this is at least the 12th or 15th time that I've tried to record this clip, so let's see if we can actually get through it. The first pro is pretty obvious. This heater makes a huge amount of heat, not even comparable to two 5 kilowatt diesel heaters. This bus, for reference, is 23 feet long from the windshield to the back door and 8 feet wide, very poorly insulated. Minus 23 degrees Celsius, this heater had no problems keeping up. The next pro is a pretty big one, and that is you can use a household thermostat on this heater to actually control it, and the thermostat that comes with it actually works pretty well as well. If you want, because this just makes or breaks a connection, you can use all sorts of controllers that you can buy on Amazon, AliExpress. If you're not a tinkerer, then the thermostat is probably the smart way to go. Fuel efficiency, which I'm going to release a video on. I'm not going to give you guys any numbers because I want you to watch that video, but this heater is far more fuel efficient than your standard heater. Enough said. It comes with a dip tube, and that is basically for mounting your fuel line into a tank. The next thing, the controller works very well. I kind of already said that. It has on-off position, then you set it. It will react to the inside temperature of your living space and adjust the heater accordingly. There's a company standing behind this heater, so although I haven't had to deal with them very much, the few dealings that I've had with them went well, and it seems like they're a company that would stand behind their product. There are no strange noises on startup. So typically your diesel heaters will make almost what sounds like a pulse jet engine. They do a lot of fussing and farting around. They kind of stink when they're starting. This is a lot better than those heaters. It starts very quickly, which is the next bonus and the last thing that I'm going to talk about. It starts without any fuss. It doesn't make any strange noises. It just starts up and off it goes. Now we are going to talk about some cons. Obviously, there's more benefits to this heater. One of them, which I've just thought of, because it moves so much air, it actually heats up a larger space. So if you wanted to, you could actually plumb in ductwork and have like 4 heat output vents and a couple of return air vents. So that is a pretty big bonus as well if you're going to be installing this permanently in something. Now we're going to go to cons. Pretty obvious con is the noise level. I just mentioned putting this or installing this into something and running ductwork. That's almost a necessary thing. If you're doing any kind of work or anything, this is too noisy to just have mounted like I have it mounted. So you want it in some sort of enclosure and then run ductwork, and that would make things a lot better. The next thing, it uses 24 volts to power it. So I purchased a 24 volt power supply from Amazon. It worked perfectly well. It wasn't expensive. And quite honestly, I forgot it was even a thing. But you will need a 24 volt battery or a 24 volt power supply, something like that, to actually power this up. I didn't talk about power consumption. There's less information available on the internet on these, and I kind of almost wanted to put this in the pros and cons, because if something happens to this heater, there's not going to be a lot of misinformation about it, because there's not a lot of information about it. So if this heater breaks, you're basically going to be talking to HLN to find out what's wrong or to get a part or whatever, which is the next thing. Parts availability. As far as I can tell, there's none as of now, although I haven't reached out to HLN to actually try to get something. So maybe they could supply parts, but it's not like your standard diesel heater. The heater ramps up on shutdown. So your standard diesel heater, when you shut it off, it goes through a shutdown process. And part of that is actually running the fan fast for a little while to cool it off. This thing does a very, very, very aggressive shutdown where it runs the fan very fast, and so it is quite noisy. It's kind of shocking because it goes from a low setting all the way up to its highest setting when it ramps up to cool off. And the next thing, which is again kind of a pro and a con, is a very simple control system. So if you're not a tinkerer and you just want a heater that makes heat, then this is as simple as it gets. It's a dial, you turn the heater on and it makes heat. However, a lot of people do like to see exchanger temperature, fan speed, pump hertz. You know, you want your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi and all that stuff, an app in your pocket. This doesn't have any of that as of now. I imagine if these heaters become more popular, if people start buying them and using them, that stuff will start coming available on these heaters, but as of now, it's not really a thing. Anyway, it looks like this is a 7-minute clip, so I am going to sign off on this video. I'm sure I missed some pros and I'm sure I missed some cons. I will be releasing a video about the fuel efficiency of this heater, and it's going to be interesting, so stay tuned for that. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. The belt on this got wrecked, so I got to replace one. I ended up ordering 2. I've currently got a diesel heater heating my garage. I figured out how to enter the engineering menu. I shouldn't say I figured out. A commenter told me how to get into the engineering menu on this. And I've turned the pump hertz down to a maximum of 4.8 hertz, which is 3.8 kilowatts, and it's happy running here. It runs at about 240 Celsius. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The heater's still running on the bus outside. Oh, you got caught on the doorknob. Heater's